All right. This is, we're going to go over chapter 12-6. And this lesson, if you remember correctly, is about using reasoning skills, problem solving. So again, let's go ahead and dig straight into the lesson. That way, again, you can also use what we studied already in the previous lessons for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to go ahead and answer the questions for this particular practice sheet. All right. So number 1 says, or at least questions number 1 through 2 say, analyze the information, draw a conclusion about each statement. Is the statement correct or incorrect? If incorrect, give an example to support why. Number 1, it says all right triangles are scaling triangles. Now you know that is incorrect because triangles can be classified by length and by the size of the angles found in them. So we can say, for example, some right triangles have 2 equal sides, and so they are isosceles triangles. And we also have equilateral triangles and such. So no, not all triangles are scaling. Scaling triangle has no sides that are equal. Number 2, 2 equilateral triangles with equal side lengths can be joined to make a rhombus. That is correct. All right, I suggest that you draw it out on your sheet. You can. All right. And again, well, let me go ahead and see if I can do it here on the sheet real quick. Here is one equilateral triangle, and if I put another equilateral triangle right next to it, you'll see that it creates a rhombus, right? All right, number 3, you don't worry about number 3. Number 4, it says, what is another statement you can make and test about rectangles? Again, that also goes along with number 4. And don't worry about number 5 either. Let's just go straight into number 6. Number 6, it says, or 6 through 12 says, test the statement and tell whether it appears to be correct or incorrect. If correct, give an example to support why. Okay, well, number 6, it says the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. And if you remember the previous lessons of our classification of triangles, I did tell you that triangles do have, all 3 angles have to be equal to 180 degrees. So that is correct. Number 7, parallel lines never intersect. Remember that parallel lines are line segments or lines that always go side by side, but they never intersect. They're always next to each other. Okay, so that statement is correct also. Number 8, it says all rectangles have 4 congruent sides. Well, that is not correct. All right. The 4 sides of a rectangle are equal only if it is a square, right? In a rectangle, opposite sides are equal, but not all sides are equal. Number 9, all even numbers are composite. Well, that is also incorrect because you remember correctly, number 2 is even, but yet it is a prime number, meaning that number 2 only has 2 factors, 1 and itself. Number 10, all triangles have at least 2 acute angles. That is correct. Remember, and we can classify triangles based on the angle sizes. If you have a right triangle, you have the right angle plus 2 acute angles. Let me go ahead and draw that on the side. You see, there's the right angle and 2 acute angles. Or you can have an obtuse triangle where you have an obtuse and 2 acute. Or you can have a equilateral triangle in which all the angles are acute. Okay, number 11, the sum of the angles of any quadrilateral is 360 degrees. We also discussed that when we're classifying quadrilaterals or these 4-sided figures. That statement is also correct. Number 12. Go ahead and scroll up so you can see that better. It says number 12, 2 angles in a parallelogram each measure 75 degrees. The other 2 angles each measure 120 degrees. Is that correct or incorrect? Well, let me go ahead and draw an example of that real quick at the bottom. And again, it says that we've got a parallelogram. And obviously, if 2 angles are 120 degrees, that must mean that it's the obtuse angles. This would be 120. And the opposite angle is also 120. And then the others are 75 degrees. So that must mean that they must be the acute angles because they're the smaller angles. So the question here is, if you remember correctly on statement number 11, if you remember, it said that the sum of all of the angles of any quadrilateral is 360 degrees. And if you find the sum of all of these angles, would that be correct? 120 times 2 is 240 plus 75 and 75, which is 150. Well, what's 240 plus 150? If I write it down right here and work it out, you'll see that it's actually 390 degrees, which goes completely against what number, the true statement for number 11, okay, or the fact that it's stated in number 11. If you really wanted to make sure that you would get this correct, the way you would correct this is you would say that the 120 degree angles would actually, you would change them into 105, because then you would have 105 plus 105, which gives you 210, plus 75 and 75, which are the other two acute angles, that gives you 150. If you add both of those, you should get a total of 360 degrees. All right. Well, that concludes this assignment, guys. Make sure that you practice, or you go over your practice sheets for the previous lessons, because tomorrow you will have a test over all of those lessons. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one.